But I want to turn our attention now to the West Virginia mine explosion that killed 29 miners. Today, the president called for an investigation of all mines with bad safety records. Of the 48 mines with the worst records, 6 of them belong to the parent company of this recent disaster, Massey Energy, owner of the Upper Big Branch mine.
I refuse to accept any number of miner deaths as simply a cost of doing business. We can't eliminate chance completely from mining any more than we can from life itself. But if a tragedy can be prevented, it must be prevented.
Arianna Huffington back with us, along with Executive Director for the Prosperity Agenda, Kevin Zeese. Whether it is this or so many other things, Arianna, you've done a great job of connecting the basic value system of our government, our corporations, and its relationship with people. Will you describe that for folks?
Well, what I did and what we are continuing to do at the Huffington Post is connect the dots between a broken regulatory system at the mines, which is what really allowed this disaster to happen and these 29 deaths to happen, with a broken regulatory system when it comes to Wall Street. Because there are many parallels, Dylan. It's not that there were no regulations. There were plenty of regulations at the mine. Indeed, the day of the explosion, the day of the collapse, there was a regulator who gave the mine a clean bill of health. In the same way that, as you know, there were plenty of regulators at Lehman Brothers, at AIG, at Fannie and Freddie, but there are so many loopholes. And that's why, as we're looking at this bill going through the Senate, that's what we need to keep our eye on, the loopholes, because it was the loopholes at the mine and the mining legislation that made it possible, despite the fact that this mine had over 500 violations in 1 year alone, not to be shut down because they kept challenging them.
Kevin, how does that work? If a mine has, if I'm a mine operator and I'm making good money and I don't want to have to spend a couple of extra dollars to fix the mine just because some guys are down in there and they might die, how do I avoid having to do that? Because honestly, I'd rather make the money, and if the guys die, the guys die.
Well, lots of ways, and I think Arianna's picking out some of the really key points about the regulatory system not working well. One of the reasons why it didn't work well in this case was because whenever the Massey company was found to be in violation and fined, they would very often go in and litigate those violations. And so they're actually litigating $10 million worth of fines right now. Plus, when they do get punished, it's not enough. For example, there was a mining disaster by Massey Energy affiliate a couple years ago, and they settled the criminal and civil charges by paying the largest fine in mining history, $4.2 million. Now, $4.2 million sounds a lot of money, but the head of Massey, Don Blankenship, makes $14 million a year. So 2 miners die, and they're fined $4.2 million, and that's the highest in history. It's not going to work. We need to find ways to actually put these people in jeopardy personally, and that means criminal prosecution. So I hope that President Obama doesn't just investigate broadly, but instead I see the Department of Justice needs to appoint a prosecutor with long experience in prosecution who will give a broad power to investigate wherever the evidence leads and really hold these people accountable.
Yeah, forget loopholes, Arianna. How about personal liability? Bill Fleckenstein suggested the same thing for bank CEOs and boards. If mining CEOs and bank CEOs had personal liability, you think that would change things?
Absolutely. That's why I was glad to see, Dylan, that the president today did not rule out criminal prosecutions. That is the key. It's the key at the mines. It's the key on Wall Street. It's unconscionable that we haven't had any criminal prosecutions, either despite all the major mining disasters throughout the years or on Wall Street. I mean, as you know, AIG had already been fined $1.6 billion before the financial meltdown. So fines have become like part of the cost of doing business. They do not deter the kind of behavior that we have seen.
Personal liability for the CEO and the board sounds interesting to me. Arianna, thanks so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. Kevin, a pleasure to see you.